Hello, welcome back. I hope you're doing great. As a part of this video, we'll understand how to add and remove spaces in strings. But if I ask you a question before we move forward, why do I need to remove and add spaces? When you are looking at the data which is there as a part of any table, right? We do have a string data. Don't you think that your data may have spaces? Sometimes you may need spaces, sometimes you don't need spaces. Depending upon the requirement, there is a need to either add space or remove space in the data which is captured or there as a part of the table in a database. So that is where we need functions to tackle that. We do have different functions like space, ltrim, trim, length, rtrim, we have rpad, lpad. We will look at all of them one by one in the subsequent slides. Let us use this particular table. This table happens to be a student table, and we have column 1, column 2, column 3, and we have some 4 records. If you observe clearly, we have added some spaces after the string, before the string, and all those things, so that we can understand what kind of functions can be used to add or remove spaces. First function which we need to know is a length function. What exactly length function does? It returns the length of a string. What is the length of a string? How many characters are there? For example, bliss mass 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 characters are there. It returns the length of a string. Why do I need a length of the string? There may be various use cases for that. What is the syntax? Very simple. Use a length function and provide the string of which you want to find a length. For example, we have select length SQL as a length. So this will calculate the length of a string and it will be assigned to one particular column. So we'll get 3 as a length because we have SQL, that is 3 letters. And if you want to get a length of a column in a table, all you got to do is use the length function and provide the column name as an argument to this function. It will calculate length of all the values in that particular column. So in this case, it will calculate the length of mark. One thing you need to observe here is it will calculate the spaces as well, right? If I go ahead and execute this, we'll get 6. Why is that 6? Because we do have 2 spaces here. And why is it 8 here? Because 3 spaces are there and 5 letters are there. So whenever you are using a length function, it will consider characters and also the spaces. You should be aware of this. Then we have a function called trim. Trim is a simple yet powerful function. It will remove the spaces on either side of the string. Let us say you have mark and we have a space here. So if you say trim of this, it will only give me mark. So it will remove the spaces on left side also, on right side also. That is what trim does. What is the syntax for the trim? Simple. You provide trim and provide a string you want to trim. So remember, trim is trimming the spaces on either side of a string. For example, here if you say trim SQL workbench, you can see spaces here and here. So it will give SQL workbench after executing this particular statement. If you want to use a trim on a column in a table, all you have to do is specify the name of the column on which you want to perform the trim. So it will trim the values which are there in a column. In this case, mark will be mark because mark has only spaces on the right side, right? So trims on either side. If the spaces are only one side, it will trim that side. So after executing this, we'll get this particular result where there are no spaces for all the values of a name column. If you want to know whether your trim is working fine or not, or if you want to know the difference before the trim and after the trim, you can combine length and trim functions together. In this case, if I say length of SQL Workbench, it will include the spaces also, and it will give me a result as 17. On the other hand, if you say length and trim this, it will give me the length of a string which is trimmed. Trimmed means it would have removed the spaces, right? It will give me 13 because it would have taken these 4 spaces. You can also use the length and trim functions together in a table as well. For example, here I am saying select name, length name from student. So it will give me this. Mark is 6, Steve is 8, Harry is 10, Amit is 5. That is including the spaces. But if you do it after the trim, if you take a length of this column after the trim, it will give me the length of the characters without space. It will give me 4, 5, 5, 4. Because in Mark you have 2 spaces. That is the reason 6 has become 4. In case of Steve, we have 3 spaces. So 8 has become 5. In case of Harry, it has 5 spaces. That is the reason 10 has become 5. And in case of Amit, there is only 1 space. 5 has become 4. Wonderful. We'll see all of them as a part of our hands-on. Thank you.